Good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, a storm rapidly intensifying west of La Union. Emong is now a typhoon, threatening to dump even more rains in most of Luzon. Our reporters are on the ground to check on areas affected. The controversy continues over what some are calling scandalous insertions in the 2025 national budget. Some senators now calling for a full-blown investigation. And challenge accepted. PNP Chief Nicolas Torre is game for a fistfight against the challenger, acting Davao Mayor Baste Duterte. Stay tuned if we're actually going to see a charity boxing match. The rains are not letting up anytime soon as Tropical Storm Emong is now a typhoon. Joining us for an update and the rainfall forecast is Pag-asa weather specialist Charmaine Varilla. Maulang tanghali, Charmaine. Unahin natin itong si Bagyong Emong kasi meron pang Dante na papalabas na ng PAR at meron pang isang bagyo na nasa labas ng Philippine Area of Responsibility. Itong si Bagyong Emong, ito ang may direct threat sa bansa. So ano na ang latest dito?
Yes, ma'am. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat at sa lahat nating mga tigapakinig. At gaya nga po nang na-mention nyo kanina, itong si Bagyong Emong nga ay mas lumakas pa at umabot na nga po sa kategory na typhoon. At patuloy pa rin itong kumikilos dito sa may West Philippine Sea. At kaninang alas 10 ng umaga ay huling nating namataan itong sentro ni Typhoon Emong sa layong 220 kilometers west-southwest of Bacnotan, La Union o kaya naman 210 kilometers west of Dagupan City, Pangasinan. At nakikita natin na yung lakas nito ay maabot na ng 120 kilometers per hour malapit sa sentro nito at mga pabugso ng hangin na maabot ng 150 kilometers per hour. At patuloy pa rin itong kumikilos pa south-southeastward ng mabagal. Kumbaga kukurba na pabalik na at palapit na dito sa kalupaan ng Ilocos Region. At yung pinakamalalakas na hangin niya ay maabot na nga ng 150 kilometers mula sa sentro nito. At based sa nakikita nga natin na senaryo, lalapit na uli ito sa kalupaan ng Ilocos Region at maaaring maglandfall nga dito yan sa may parte in between Ilocos Norte hanggang La Union. Possible yan mamayang gabi o bukas ng umaga. Kaya patuloy po natin pinag-iingat ang ating mga kababayan dyan dahil yung mga susunod na mga oras ang crucial time po para sa inyo na malapit na maglandfall itong bagyo. At sa nakikita natin, pagka-landfall niya sa areas na yan, maaari itong maglakad sa kalupaan ng Northern Luzon at pwedeng mag-exit nga dito sa may area ng Apayao or Ilocos Norte at maaaring dadaan pa dito sa may Batanes, Babuyan Group of Islands at lalabas ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility Sabado naman yan ng hapon. Kaya naman nag-raise tayo ng wind signal number 3 dito sa may northern portion of Pangasinan, western portion of La Union, gayon din sa southwestern portion of Ilocos Sur. Signal number 2 naman dito sa may Ilocos Norte, iba pang bahagi ng Ilocos Sur, iba pang bahagi ng La Union, central portion of Pangasinan, Apayao, Kalinga, Abra, Mountain Province, Ifugao, Benguet, Babuyan Islands, northern at western portions of mainland Cagayan, gayon din sa western portion of Nueva Vizcaya. Signal number 1 naman dito sa may Batanes, iba pang bahagi ng Cagayan, western at central portions of Isabela, gayon din sa iba pang bahagi ng Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, iba pang bahagi ng Pangasinan, northern at central portions of Zambales, Tarlac, western at central portion of Nueva Ecija. Muli, pinag-iingat natin ang ating mga kababayan sa mga nabanggit natin na lugar sa mga banta ng mga malalakas ng pag-alon. At bukod dyan, asahan din natin na mayroon tayo ina-expect na mga malalakas na mga pag-ulan sa malaki pa rin niyang bahagi ng Luzon at dito nga sa Metro Manila ay kasama rin tayo sa makakatanggap ng 100 to 200 millimeters ngayong araw. Kaya pinag-iingat pa rin natin ang ating mga kababayan sa mga banta ng mga malalakas ng pag-ulan na maaring magdala ng mga pagbaha at pagguho ng lupa. At bukod pa sa mga areas na merong wind signal, yung mga areas din sa ibang bahagi ng Luzon, gayon din sa Visayas at northern at western sections ng Mindanao ay makararanas din ng mga malalakas na mga paghangin. Kaya pinag-iingat din po natin ang ating mga kababayan, hindi lamang doon sa mga areas na may wind signal, pati na rin po sa mga areas sa ibang bahagi ng ating bansa. At bukod po sa mga hangin at mga pag-ulan, asahan din natin na meron po tayong minimal to moderate na risk ng storm surge or ito yung pagtaas ng mga alon sa dalampasigan at maaari nga umabot ng 1 hanggang 2 metro sa loob ng 36 hours dito sa karagatan or coastal areas ng Ilocos Region, gayon din dito sa may northern parts ng Cagayan. Kaya muli, pinag-iingat din na rin mga kababayan dyan sa may norte sa mga banta ng storm surge. At meron din po tayo nakataas na gale warning dito sa may western seaboards ng Luzon. Kaya naman po, ang ating mga mangisda at maliliit na sasakyang pandagat ay mag-ingat sa matataas na pag-alon at kung maaari po ay ipagpaliban muna ang paglalayag. So bukod po kay Emong, yung isang nating bagyo na si Dante naman ay patuloy pa rin na maintain yung kanyang lakas at papunta na nga dito sa may East China o kaya naman dito sa may Ryukyu Islands. At si Tropical Storm Dante nga ay huling namataan kanina alas 10 ng umaga sa layong 735 kilometers east-northeast of Itbayat, Batanes. At ito nga ay merong lakas ng hangin na umaabot ng 75 kilometers per hour malapit sa sentro nito at mga pagbugso ng hangin na umaabot naman ng 90 kilometers per hour. At patuloy nga itong kumikilos pa north-northwestward sa bilis na 30 kilometers per hour. At yung pinakamalalakas nga na hangin nito ay umaabot ng 550 kilometers mula sa sentro nito. At inaasahan natin di sa senaryo naman ni Dante ay maaari na itong makalabas ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility mamayang hapon or gabi.
Charmaine, very quickly, itong LPA na nakikita natin na nasa labas pa ng PAR, ano ang forecast nyo dyan? Papasok ba ito ng PAR at lalakas pa?
Yes, ma'am. Yung LPA nga na to ay naging isang ganap na ngang bagyo sa labas ng ating PAR kaninang alas 8 ng umaga. At yung last location nga niya nasa 2,000 kilometers east ng southeastern Luzon. So, sa nakikita natin, ma'am, yung movement nito north-northwestward at hindi pa na, or mababa pa yung chance na makapasok ito sa loob ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Pero regardless kung papasok man po or hindi, dahil ngayong track niya ay pataas, maaari siyang lumapit dito sa may areas ng in-between Northern Luzon tsaka Japan. So nakikita po natin lahat ng mga bagyo na lumalapit or dumadaan po sa area na yan ay naguhugot po ng habagat. Kaya although papalabas na yung mga bagyo natin, by weekend, nakikita pa rin natin na meron pa rin po tayong magiging habagat pagdating ng next week.
Tapos sunod-sunod talaga, no, Charmaine, Huwebes na at maulan pa rin. Pero ang sinasabi mo, critical, mamayang gabi hanggang bukas ng umaga kasi yun ang possible landfall nitong si Typhoon Emong, ano, dyan sa Ilocos Region ang landfall. Posible bang mag-signal number 4 at lalakas pa ba itong si Bagyong Emong?
Sa paglakas naman po niya, sa nakikita natin, mukhang sa typhoon category pa rin siya mag-i-stay, pero hindi pa rin po natin niro-roll out yun. And yung paglakas pa niya. Pero sa ngayon, mababa pa po yung chance na mas lumakas pa siya. More on mag-i-stay siya sa typhoon category before landfall.
Alright.
And then, pero monitoring pa rin po tayo, no? Kasi medyo may mga time gaps pa to, no? Baka may mga pagbabago pa na mangyari since medyo magtatagal pa siya dito sa West Philippines ng mga ilang oras. And then, yung ano naman po, pagdating naman po ng pag-landfall niya, tama po kayo, yan po talaga yung critical hours. At posible nga po na magtaas pa tayo ng wind signal kasi lalapit pa po to sa kalupaan ng Ilocos Region.
Alright,
So,
babantayan namin ang mga weather advisories ng Pag-asa. Maraming salamat sa inyong update. Pag-asa,
Yes, ma'am.
weather
Maraming
specialist,
salamat.
Charmaine Varilla. Thank you. As the country grapples with relentless storms, authorities are urging the public to take precautions with wind signal number 4 possibly raised if Typhoon Emong intensifies further. While Tropical Storm Dante is still being monitored within the Philippine Area of Responsibility, the low-pressure area outside PAR has also developed into a tropical depression. Meanwhile, the death toll from the ongoing weather onslaught has risen to 12. Only 2 fatalities have been confirmed so far, while 10 remain under verification. The latest from the NDRRMC also reports 8 missing persons and 8 injuries. Nationwide, more than 2.7 million Filipinos, or over 760,000 families, have been affected by days of persistent rains. Agricultural losses have now exceeded 648 million pesos, while damage to infrastructure has surged to over 3.7 billion pesos. Currently, 40 cities and municipalities have declared a state of calamity. Stay with Billionaire News Channel for continuous coverage and real-time updates. No days off for President Bongbong Marcos as he checked on flood-hit communities this morning, straight from his working trip in the U.S. Joash Malimban is on the line with the details. Joash?
My President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is back to work after returning from a 3-day official visit to the United States. The President has already visited evacuation centers in San Mateo, Rizal, where 3,899 families are temporarily sheltered in 2 public schools and a covered court due to flooding caused by the southwest monsoon. This morning, he is set to visit another evacuation site in Santa Ana, Manila to personally check on the situation of affected residents. Heavy rains and flooding have battered multiple areas in Luzon for the past week due to the southwest monsoon enhanced by Typhoon Krising, which has now exited the Philippine area of responsibility. Several provinces have declared a state of calamity as rains continue to pour, with 2 more tropical depressions, Dante and Emong, which is already now, as reported earlier, a typhoon now inside the Philippine area of responsibility. These weather systems may bring more rainfall and bad weather to parts of central and northern Luzon. During his evacuation center visits, the President is leading the distribution of food packs to evacuees in coordination with the Department of Social Welfare and Development. In San Mateo alone, a total of 546 families or 2,102 individuals received aid yesterday at Mali Elementary School. The relief operations are in line with the President's directive to respond immediately to the needs of communities affected by widespread flooding and displacement. After his visit to Santa Ana, the President is also scheduled to proceed to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council headquarters in Camp Aguinaldo for a situation briefing. Mai.
Thank you for the update, Joash Malimban. Caviteños have to endure the rains and the floods days after the province was put under a state of calamity. Hanati is in Bacoor with an update. Hana, I believe yung pagbaha dyan sa Bacoor is somehow common. Kamusta na ang sitwasyon dyan?
That's right, my parts of Bakor City are still submerged in flood waters this morning. We're here along Panapaan Road where flooding still reaches knee-deep in some areas. Residents say this is already an improvement because yesterday floodwaters reached waist-deep following torrential rains. Many are still struggling to resume work, like Nanay Roslyn, a single mom who says she has no choice but to go out and work as a caretaker despite the flooding just to provide for her college-bound child. She hopes that solutions for flooding will be addressed in the incoming SONA of PBBM.
Resolve na kasi nalulubog po talaga dito din. Sana po makatulong din po siya sa mga single parents.
The city's Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office says the drainage system was overwhelmed because of continuous rains and high tide. Mai Bacoor serves as a natural catchment basin here in Cavite, and high tide events combined with heavy rains make flooding a common occurrence. The city now has 45 active evacuation centers with more than 900 families, and local officials are providing 3 meals daily to evacuees. Hot meals consist of rice, boiled eggs, hot dog or siomai, and bottled water. Mai?
Hana, how long does it usually take for the floodwaters there to subside? Diyan sa Bacoor, particularly sa Panapaan.
May sabi ng mga residente, it usually takes 2 to 3 days depending on the weather, and the LGU says itong flood retention times na ito ay shorter compared to the 80s and the 90s, and now they're planning for more long-term solutions kasama dyan yung additional pumping stations at meron ding clean-up efforts na ongoing kagaya ng work ng river warriors as well as vacuum trucks. Those are the latest here in Bakor City. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you for that report and stay safe, Hanati. Billions in budget insertions in a closed-door process. Senators are raising red flags over how public funds were added to the 2025 budget. And some are now calling for a full-blown investigation. Hannah T. returns with this report.
The alleged billions worth of insertions in the 2025 national budget should be investigated. That's according to some senators. In an on-point interview on Billionario News Channel, Senator Risa Ontiveros says she's willing to join the probe should it start in the Senate. She adds renewed calls to open BICAM should be intensified. It's the closed-door conference where final budget amendments are made.
I don't see in principle why there would be any difficulty about that. I've raised that call. Sinabi na rin niya ni Sen Ping. Narinig na rin natin kay Speaker. So,
Maybe this year?
Maybe this year, we should really give it a go.
Fellow Senator Tito Soto calls the insertions scandalous and excessive. He wants them probed and warns that this may just be a tip of the iceberg. A document obtained by BNC reveals that Senate President Cheese Escudero allegedly inserted 142.7 billion into the final version of the 2025 budget during the bicameral conference committee.
Hindi dapat nangyayari yan. At hindi dapat nagkakaroon ng duda na nangyayari yun. Kasi pera yan, hindi lang nga ng gobyerno, pera ng mamamayan, literally, galing sa buwis ng mamamayan.
While committee deliberations for the budget are transparent, the BICAM process remains vulnerable to last-minute insertions. The DBM quickly clarified it had no role in the issue. The agency only drafts the NEP, while Congress holds the power to amend. Meanwhile, acting Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte slammed the DPWH for poorly implemented flood control projects, despite receiving billions in funding.
It's clearly, happening. Yung mga bakad na yan, the local government can only allocate what we have.
He said projects in Davao were delayed, including a waste-to-energy project and the DOTR's bus system, claiming national agencies were trying to block the local initiatives.
Hindi nila inaayos yung trabaho nila. And it will only get worse. And maybe because kalaban kami ng administrasyon, they want, things to get worse.
A deeper dive into the document uncovers red flags. The infrastructure sector received the lion's share of the insertions, with whole number allocations, missing engineering plans, and projects split into multiple segments, possibly to evade audit. At least 250 billion in infrastructure insertions were earlier flagged in the 2025 budget, mostly under the DPWH. BNC is still seeking a Escudero statement. Hannah Tia, Billionario News Channel.
While relief efforts are underway for those affected by the non-stop rains, it appears acting Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte and PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre might be up for a boxing match. The young mayor in his vlog challenged Torre to a fist fight, and the PNP chief accepted. General Torre even suggested they turn it to a charity boxing match to be held at the Smart Araneta Coliseum. A Politico source now says Torre is game to have it scheduled for August 3rd since July 27th was no longer available.
Kasi matapang ka lang naman, we have the position pero kusuntukan tayo, ararap ko makaya, bita. Ganun lang. But you're a coward. You are nothing without your position. Sa totoo lang.
Gawin natin referee si Manny Pacquiao. Pwede. I think that will be a very good fundraising activity. Magamit natin sa ating mga kababayan nung nasalanta ng bagyo and pagbabaha. So ako naman ay okay lang naman. Kung siya ay seryoso, let's just do it for a better cause. No? But charity boxing match siguro, it's good.
Mayor Baste has called out Torre for the general's role in the arrest of his father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, now detained at The Hague. And as expected, social media had a field day with memes billing this potential showdown as the battle of the rebel and the enforcer. Our reporters are still on the ground as we bring you updates on areas affected by the incessant rains. That and more when Newsfeed at Noon returns. You're back on Newsfeed at noon. President Marcos back in the country following his 3-day state visit to the U.S. His first order of business to address the nation's needs amid this calamity. The president is at the NDRRMC and joining state disaster officials in a press briefing. Joan Manalo has an update. Joan, go ahead.
The NDRRMC has conducted a situation briefing together with President Marcos, who just returned from a state visit to the United States. Also present at the briefing were DFWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian, DIL Chief Secretary John Vic Rimulya, Finance Secretary Ralph Recto, and other members of the cabinet. President Marcos Jr. addressed members of the media immediately after the briefing, saying they have drawn on lessons from previous storms in formulating solutions to the effects of the southwest monsoon and the recent tropical cyclones. He stressed that the country now has a faster response time to calamities as a result of enhanced preparedness and coordination. Among the measures are the deployment of rescue teams and rescue boats, as well as close coordination with local government units. Affected families will also be provided immediate assistance. The president also shared that he personally visited 2 evacuation centers in Rizal and assured that the government will continue monitoring conditions on the ground as inclement weather persists. He added that even while he was in the United States, the national government remained fully equipped and prepared, following standard operating procedures for emergencies. On education, President Marcos said they are also exploring alternative modes of learning as classes continue to be suspended due to the floods and the heavy rains. As of 6 a.m. today, the NDRRMC released a situational report on the combined effects of southwest monsoon and tropical cyclones hitting Dante and a total of 65,869 families, or over 2.73 million individuals have been affected nationwide.
All right, Joan, you're coming in choppy. We'll try to get back to you for our 2 p.m. Update for the situation in our flooded areas. Thank you for that report. Joan Manalo reporting to us from Camp Aguinaldo. Drama in court as the so-called Idaho killer gets sentenced to life in prison. Convicted in 2022 for stabbing 4 college students to death, 30-year-old Brian Coberger received 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole or appeal for 4 counts of first-degree murder.
All right, Mr. Coberger, you have an opportunity to make a statement if you wish to. I take it you are declining.
I respectfully decline.
Go.
Coberger broke into the students' dorm November 2022 and killed them in their sleep with a hunting knife. During the proceedings, friends and relatives of the victims vented their anger directly at Coberger.
Let me be very clear. Don't ever try to convince yourself you mattered just because someone finally said your name out loud. I see through you. You want the truth? Here's the one you'll hate the most. If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your ass.
A dead killer doesn't kill again. So while I'm disappointed the firing squad won't get to take their shots at you, I'm confident that the men in prison will have their way with you in more ways than one. You will finally get what you wanted, physical touch. Just probably not how you were expecting it.
Back here in the country, not even the heavy rains and floods could stop a couple from walking down a flooded aisle on their wedding day. Baraswain Church in Malolos, Bulacan was swamped due to the heavy rains this week, but that couldn't stop Jade Rick Verdillo and his now wife, Jamaica Aguilar, from declaring their vows. The couple, together for 10 years now, were also joined by friends and family for a truly extraordinary wedding. And I'm sure a memorable one. Stay tuned to the Billionaire News channel and follow our social media platforms for the updates on the weather and flood advisories throughout the day. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Stay safe.